Elias Trent had trained for many things, but rumors were not one of them. As the human envoy stood inside the arrival chamber of Vierx Prime, he felt thousands of eyes watching him through glass walls, sensors, and silent machines. The station floated between 3 star systems and belonged to none of them. It was a place where deals were made, alliances tested, and mistakes never forgotten. Elias adjusted his plain gray jacket. Humans had learned long ago that simple clothing made others uneasy. No sharp edges, no bright colors, no visible weapons. It was all part of the strategy. Across the chamber, a group of Velari officials waited. They were tall, elegant, and dangerous, at least according to every report Elias had read. Their leader stood slightly apart from the others. Her name was Sarinth of the Silver Veil. The galaxy called her an alien seductress, not because of romance, but because of fear. The Velari believed in dominance through presence. They used posture, voice, and sudden actions to control negotiations. Many species had broken under it. Some had surrendered trade rights. Others had lost entire colonies. Humans, however, did not break easily. Sarinth stepped forward. Her movements were smooth, almost too smooth, like flowing metal. Her eyes dark and reflective, locked onto Elias as if he were prey. "You are smaller than expected," she said in clear, translated English. Elias smiled politely. "We hear that a lot." A ripple of confusion passed through the Velari delegation. Humor was not a common weapon among them. Sarinth tilted her head. "You show calm. Is that confidence or ignorance?" "Usually preparation," Elias replied. The meeting began. Words passed back and forth. Trade routes, research access, border agreements. Everything stayed polite, but the air felt tight, stretched thin like a cable ready to snap. Then the station lights flickered. A low alarm sounded. Once, twice, then silence. Every species in the chamber reacted differently. Some stepped back. Others reached for guards. Elias stayed still. Sarinth moved instantly. In one sudden motion, she crossed the space between them. Her hand seized Elias' jacket and tore it away from his shoulders. Fabric ripped loudly, echoing through the chamber. Gasps filled the room. To the watching delegates, it looked shocking, violent, even intimate. The rumors about Velari dominance flared to life in real time. Elias felt cold air hit his undershirt. His pulse jumped, but his face remained calm. Sarinth's other hand pressed against his chest, fingers spreading as if searching. "Do not resist," she said sharply. "I'm not," Elias replied evenly. Her eyes narrowed. Under his jacket, small metallic fibers shimmered faintly, embedded in the clothing. Emergency tech. Environmental shields, translation support, standard human envoy gear. Velari intelligence had warned her of hidden human devices. Sarinth tore the jacket fully away and tossed it aside. "There," she said loudly, "proof, concealed tools." Murmurs rose among the delegates. Elias slowly raised his hands, palms open. "If I wanted to hide weapons," he said, "I would have done a better job." The chamber fell silent. The station lights came back on. No attack, no breach, just a brief power failure. Sarinth froze, her grip loosened. The moment stretched. Velari doctrine taught that dominance must never hesitate. Yet here she was, standing inches from a human who did not tremble, did not shout, did not strike back. Instead, Elias met her gaze calmly. "You could have asked," he said. For the first time, uncertainty flickered across Sarinth's face. She stepped back. The damage was done. The incident had been seen by dozens of species and recorded by station systems. What was meant as a show of control had turned into a public shock. The meeting ended early. Guards escorted Elias to a private chamber while Velari officials argued in sharp, hissing tones. Inside the quiet room, Elias sat down and exhaled slowly. He looked at the torn jacket lying on the table. "So much for first impressions," he murmured. A small device on his wrist chimed. Mission Control back on Earth had already seen the footage. But Elias did not feel anger. He felt curiosity. Why had Sarinth acted so fast? Why had she seemed almost surprised by his reaction? Minutes later, the door opened. Sarinth entered alone. Her posture was different now, less theatrical, more guarded. "You showed no fear," she said. "Fear wastes energy," Elias replied. "Humans learned that early." She studied him in silence. "In Velari culture," she said slowly, "sudden closeness is a test. Those who panic reveal weakness. And those who don't," Elias asked, "they are considered dangerous." He smiled slightly. "That explains the rumors." Sarinth crossed her arms. "You were not supposed to remain calm." "I grew up on a planet with storms, predators, and other humans," Elias said. "This was manageable." For the first time, Sarinth laughed short, sharp, and genuine. "Your people are strange." "We hear that a lot too." Silence settled between them, but it was no longer hostile. Outside the chamber, the station buzzed with talk. The story had already begun to spread. The alien Seductress tore a human's clothes away, and he did not break. Sarinth finally spoke again. "You embarrassed me." Elias nodded. "You embarrassed me first." Another pause. Then she inclined her head slightly, a Velari gesture of acknowledgement rarely given to outsiders. "The encounter is not finished," she said. "The galaxy will be watching what happens next." Elias stood, straightened his undershirt, and met her eyes. "Good," he said. "So will humanity." Far above Vierx Prime, stars burned quietly, unaware that a simple torn jacket had just changed how two civilizations saw each other. And this was only the beginning. News moved fast on Vierx Prime. By the time Elias Trent stepped back into the public corridors, the story had already changed shape. Some said the Velari negotiator had attacked him. Others claimed the human had provoked her on purpose. A few dramatic voices whispered that it had been a ritual challenge. Elias ignored all of it. He walked calmly through the station, wearing a temporary jacket provided by station staff. It did not fit well, but that did not matter. Humans had learned long ago that appearances mattered less than reactions. Behind layers of glass and holograms, alien delegates watched him closely. They expected anger. They expected fear. They expected a demand for apology. They saw none of it. Inside the Velari council chamber, Sarinth stood before her people. The silver veil around her shoulders shimmered faintly as she spoke. "The human did not respond as predicted," she said. One of the elders hissed softly. "That makes him unstable." "No," Sarinth replied. "It makes him trained." Velari doctrine was clear. Emotional disruption was the fastest way to gain advantage. Yet Elias Trent had remained steady, even when his personal space was violated in front of the galaxy. That troubled her. A message appeared on the chamber display. "Human envoy requests continuation of talks." Public chamber, no guards, the elders reacted at once. A trap, an insult, a display of false courage. Sarinth raised one hand for silence. "He wants witnesses," she said. "So do we." The public negotiation hall filled quickly. Representatives from dozens of species gathered, eager to see what would happen next. The earlier incident had turned a quiet trade meeting into entertainment for the entire station. Elias entered alone. No guards, no weapons, no visible technology. He stood at the center platform and waited. Sarinth approached from the opposite side. This time she did not rush. She stopped 3 steps away, close enough to feel his body heat. Velari's senses were sharp. She could hear his breathing. Slow, controlled. "Why did you come back?" she asked. "To finish the meeting," Elias said. "You were disrespected." "Yes." "You were exposed." "Yes." "You felt no need to retaliate." "No." A low murmur spread through the hall. Sarinth circled him slowly, her steps deliberate. In Velari culture, this was a predator's movement. Many species would have flinched. Elias did not move. "You know our reputation," she said. "You know what we are called." "I know what people say," Elias replied. "I prefer to learn what's true." Her eyes narrowed. "Careful. Curiosity can be dangerous. So can assumptions." She stopped in front of him again. You believe calm makes you strong. I believe control makes me useful, he answered. The difference mattered. Sarinth raised her voice so all could hear. Humans claim to value peace, yet your history is full of conflict, wars, weapons, destruction. Elias nodded. Yes, you admit it freely. We learned that denial slows progress, he said. A pause followed. Then Sarinth did something unexpected. She leaned closer and spoke quietly for him alone. This is the second test. Before he could respond, the lights dimmed again. This time, it was not an accident. Velari's systems activated across the chamber. Sound dampeners cut the noise. Gravity shifted slightly, just enough to make balance uncertain. Visual distortions filled the air. A controlled environment of stress. Many delegates stumbled or cried out. Elias adjusted his stance and remained standing. He focused on breathing, weight, balance, skills taught to every human envoy. Adapt first. Panic later if needed. Sarinth watched carefully. You are isolating the variables, she said. I'm staying upright, Elias replied. She stepped away and raised her hand. The system stabilized. Light returned. Gravity normalized. The test ended. A ripple of surprise spread through the hall. No signs of distress, one observer whispered. No aggression, said another. Sarinth faced the assembly. The human has passed the second challenge. Gasps followed. Elias blinked. Second. The first was humiliation, she said. The second was uncertainty. And the third, he asked. Sarinth looked at him for a long moment. The third, she said, is choice. She turned to the council displays. Velari law allows us to end negotiations with any species that relies on deception or emotional instability. She looked back at Elias. I can declare you unfit, right now. The hall fell silent. Elias considered his words carefully. If you do, he said, you'll confirm every rumor about your people. Sarinth's jaw tightened. And if you don't, Elias continued, you might discover something new. Which is, she asked. That humans are not here to dominate, he said. We're here to survive together. We're very good at that. The Velari elders exchanged signals. This was not how the test usually went. Sarinth finally spoke. Why did you not respond with anger when I tore your clothing? Elias answered honestly. Because anger would have made your fears true. Her eyes widened slightly. You feared us, he continued. Not because we're weak, because you don't understand us. A long silence followed. Then Sarinth made her decision. The talks will continue, she announced. Under observation. The hall erupted in noise. As the crowd dispersed, Elias allowed himself a quiet breath of relief. Later, in a private corridor, Sarinth walked beside him. Not in front, not behind, beside. You risked much today, she said. So did you, Elias replied. She glanced at him. You turned our own tests against us. I just stayed human, he said. Sarinth stopped walking. Tell me something, Elias Trent, she said. If a real threat appears, something no test, no doctrine prepared us for, what would humans do? Elias met her gaze. We de-adapt, he said. Then we'd help anyone willing to stand with us. For the first time since meeting him, Sarinth felt something unfamiliar. Not dominance. Not control, respect. Far beyond Vierk's prime, unknown forces were already moving. And soon the galaxy would learn that human calm was not weakness. It was warning. Vierk's prime never truly slept. Even in its quiet hours, the station hummed with power, trade, and secrets. Elias Trent stood near a wide viewport, watching distant stars slide past as the station slowly rotated. The talks with the Velari had resumed, but something felt wrong. Too quiet. Sarinth felt it too. She entered the observation deck without ceremony, her silver veil dimmed to a neutral shade. Velari used color to signal emotion. Neutral meant alert. You feel it, Elias said without turning. Yes, she replied. The station's pattern has changed. Elias nodded. Humans were good at noticing patterns. It came from living on a dangerous world where small changes often meant big trouble. A sharp alarm cut through the air. This time, it did not stop. Red warning lights flashed along the walls. Station security systems activated. Doors sealed in rapid sequence. A mechanical voice echoed through the corridors. Attention! External breach detected. Unauthorized vessels attached to hull sectors 7 through 9. Pirates. Not the wild kind, but the organized ones. The kind that studied stations like Vierx Prime and waited for moments of distraction. The earlier incident had drawn eyes away from security. They had chosen their timing well. Sarinth straightened. "This is not part of any test." "I was hoping you'd say that," Elias replied. The floor shook slightly as distant explosions rocked the station's outer ring. Emergency bulkheads slammed shut. The observation deck lights flickered. Sarinth tapped a control panel on her wrist. Her expression darkened. "They've disabled several Velari defense nodes," she said. "Too precise, too fast." Elias' communicator buzzed. Human mission control was trying to reach him, but the signal was weak. "Who are they targeting?" he asked. "Everyone," Sarinth answered. "But they will start with those who cannot fight back." That included delegates, traders, and neutral species, many of whom were gathered near the public halls. Elias did not hesitate. "Show me the station layout," he said. Sarinth paused. Velari protocol demanded control remain with Velari hands, but protocol had failed them. She projected the station map into the air between them. Elias studied it quickly. Entry points, gravity zones, power routes, civilian shelters. "You have strong defenses," he said, "but they're centralized." "Yes," Sarinth replied, "dominant systems." "They expect you to react with force," Elias said. "That's predictable." "And your suggestion?" she asked. "We do the opposite." Another explosion echoed through the hull. Sarinth's eyes sharpened. "Explain, quickly." "Humans learned a long time ago," Elias said, "that when you can't outgun a threat, you outthink it." He pointed to several small nodes on the map. "These are maintenance corridors, low priority, no heavy defenses." "Yes," she said. "They're irrelevant." "Not to humans," Elias replied. "We move through spaces no one else values." He outlined a plan in simple terms. Redirect power. Use gravity shifts in short pulses. Herd the pirates toward empty cargo rings instead of fighting them head-on. Evacuate civilians through service paths pirates would ignore. It was not elegant, it was effective. Sarinth listened carefully. "This requires trust," she said. Elias met her gaze. "So does survival." She made her choice. Velari command systems adjusted. Station gravity pulsed in controlled waves. Lights flickered in specific sectors, drawing attention away from evacuation routes. Pirate boarding teams advanced exactly as Elias predicted. They chased the obvious targets. They ignored the quiet paths. Elias moved with station crews, guiding frightened delegates through narrow corridors. He spoke calmly, clearly, keeping his voice steady even when the walls shook. "Keep moving." Because he believed in what he was saying. Sarinth coordinated from above, watching feeds in disbelief. Human tactics spread chaos for the attackers while creating order for everyone else. One pirate squad reached a sealed cargo ring. They thought they had cornered valuable prisoners. Instead, gravity inverted. They slammed into the ceiling as Velari security sealed the exits behind them. Captured. Across the station, similar traps closed. Within an hour, the attack collapsed. Silence returned to Vierx Prime. Emergency crews moved in. Medical teams assisted the injured. Damage reports flooded command channels. Minimal civilian losses, far fewer than expected. Sarinth stood in the command center, staring at the results. "This should not have worked," she said quietly. "But it did," Elias replied. She turned to face him. "You took no command rank, issued no threats, used no weapons." "Didn't need to," Elias said. "People just needed direction." Velari doctrine valued dominance. Humans valued coordination. The difference was now impossible to ignore. Later in the aftermath chamber, representatives gathered again. This time the mood was very different. Whispers followed Elias wherever he walked. The human saved us. He turned chaos into order. He faced pirates without fear. Sarinth addressed the assembly. The Velari acknowledge a failure in our assumptions, she said. Humanity's methods prevented disaster, a rare admission. She turned to Elias. You acted without obligation. He nodded. Helping others keeps us alive in the long run. Even strangers, she asked. Especially strangers, Elias replied. They become allies faster that way. Sarinth felt something shift deep within her thinking. Velari's strength came from control. Human strength came from connection. As the meeting ended, she walked with Elias once more. The galaxy will change how it sees you after today, she said. Change is uncomfortable, Elias replied, but it beats extinction. Sarinth stopped at the viewport where they had stood before. Humans confuse us, she admitted. You show restraint when challenged, calm when tested, cooperation when attacked. Elias smiled faintly. We learned those lessons the hard way. She looked at the stars beyond the glass. There is one final matter, she said, the third test. Elias raised an eyebrow. I thought we passed that. This one, she said, was not planned. She turned back to him. The Velari must decide whether to stand alone or stand with humanity. Far away, beyond known space, something ancient stirred, drawn by conflict, by movement, by life. And soon, calm and clever tactics would not be enough. The galaxy would need something more. And humanity would be ready. The stars beyond Vierk's prime looked calm. That calm did not last. 3 days after the pirate attack, long-range sensors detected something no one could clearly explain. It was not a fleet. It was not debris. It moved with purpose but without engines anyone recognized. The station went on alert. Elias Trent stood once more in the central command hall, this time surrounded by representatives from many species. Fear filled the room, thick and heavy. Old alliances whispered about retreat. Others spoke of sealing borders. The Velari Council remained silent. Sarinth stood beside Elias, her silver veil darkened, not with dominance but with concern. The object is approaching interstellar space, a technician reported. It ignores hails. It does not respond to threat displays. Velari elders reacted immediately. Prepare dominance arrays. Demonstrate power, force it to turn away. Elias raised his hand slowly. Before we do that, he said, we should ask one question. The elders turned toward him, irritated. What question? One snapped. What if it doesn't understand dominance? Elias said. Silence followed. He continued, calm and clear. Every threat you faced so far responded to fear or force. That's because they thought like you. This thing doesn't. Sarinth studied the data streams. Its movement is adaptive. Like a living system, Elias said, learning as it goes. The room grew uneasy. If we strike, Elias said, we teach it that violence is the language here. And if we do nothing, an elder demanded. Then we buy time, Elias replied. And time lets us learn. The object entered sensor range. It shifted shape not physically but in energy patterns matching frequencies around it, copying. Sarinth felt a chill. It is observing us. Yes, Elias said. So let's show it who we really are. Velari doctrine screamed against this idea, but Velari doctrine had already failed once. Sarinth stepped forward. The Velari will stand with the human proposal, she said. Gasps echoed through the hall. We will not initiate dominance, she continued. We will coordinate. That word coordinate felt strange on her tongue. Elias outlined the plan quickly. No attacks, no posturing, instead shared data across species, mathematical signals, universal constants, patterns that showed cooperation, not threat. Human science teams transmitted sequences used in first contact across Earth history. Simple, clear, patient, the object slowed. Then it responded, not with words, with adjustment. Its energy pattern stabilized. Its path curved away from the station but not retreating. Watching. Learning, hours passed. Then a final signal arrived, an echo of the mathematical patterns returned with variation. Understanding. Relief washed through the command hall. The threat drifted away, not defeated but deterred by something unfamiliar. Unity. Sarinth exhaled slowly. If we had attacked, it would have learned the wrong lesson, Elias said. The galaxy had come close to disaster, not because it lacked power, but because it nearly used it without thought. Days later, the Grand Assembly convened. This time, Elias was not alone at the center. Sarinth stood with him. The Velari elders addressed the gathered species. For centuries, one elder said, we believed dominance was survival. Sarinth continued. We were wrong, murmurs spread. The human response to threat was not control, she said. It was understanding. Not fear, not force, choice. She turned toward Elias. You faced humiliation without anger, tests without panic, violence without hatred. Elias shook his head slightly. We weren't being noble, he said. We were being practical. Some delegates laughed softly. When you live on a dangerous world, Elias continued, you learn fast that you can't fight everything. Sometimes you outgrow it. The assembly voted. It was historic. The Velari formally joined a cooperative defense and knowledge pact with humanity and its allies. Not led by fear, not enforced by power, built on shared responsibility. As the decision was sealed, Sarinth felt something lift, an old weight she had carried without knowing. Later, she met Elias at the viewport one last time. The galaxy will remember this moment, she said. Maybe, Elias replied, or maybe they'll just remember that we didn't make things worse. She studied him. You changed how my people see strength, he smiled. You gave it a chance. Below them, Vierk's Prime returned to its steady rhythm. Trade resumed. Travel lanes reopened. Life continued, but something fundamental had shifted. Stories spread across the stars, of a human who did not strike back when challenged, of a species that turned chaos into order, of calm that stopped a threat no weapon could. Humanity earned a new reputation. Not as conquerors, not as seducers, but as the species that stayed steady when the universe tested everyone else. Far away, the strange object continued its journey, carrying with it a lesson learned. This galaxy did not always answer fear with fear. And someday, when it returned, it would remember. Elias Trent boarded his transport back to Earth. As the station faded into starlight, he allowed himself a rare moment of rest. Humanity had not won a war. It had done something harder. It had taught the galaxy how to choose.